with all, there's a huge fracture, obviously, in our community right now.
Yeah.
For simplicity, I'll say there's deniers and there's believers.
Right.
And I don't know why we can't all just get along and both people be right. Why can't someone who denies all of this say, I can't deal with it. He's still my spiritual teacher. He brought me to the feet of the Guru. Yoga and meditation worked for me. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to call you a liar. And for the people who believe all of it, I want to hear some compassion from them and say, he did these things. He's no longer my teacher. I can't deal. Fuck him. But you get to have your experience. Just don't call me a liar. Because the same person can be different for different people. And I don't have a problem with that because we are humans and we are complicated. Obviously, it's very simple. It's complicated. I just simplified it. But I just want to hear some compassion from both sides. Because he can be all things to different people. I know people will say that the yoga and the meditation they did and being brought to the feet of Guru literally saved their life. And who am I to say they're wrong?
No doubt about it. I think that's what's most important about really sharing our own experience, is realizing that all we can do is let people have their own, and all we can do is speak to our own. And
not call other people a liar, and not tell other people how they have to feel about it, for or against.
I completely agree with that. What I will say is that in a culture that's trained us to not talk out loud, that becomes challenging, because one might not say you're a liar. You might just be saying they're trying to stop me from speaking what's out loud. And
totally.
And so that's where it gets a little convoluted on the side, simplistically.
And some of them are trying to stop people from talking. Absolutely. And that is wrong.
Absolutely. So I hear the agreement of sides.
I want everybody to take the high road.
Yeah.
Like, I feel a very deep sense of betrayal. And I know some people are going to think I'm waffling maybe, or I'm not hard enough. I want to be very clear. I believe all of the allegations. He is a rapist. He was a master manipulator. He used people. I very much believe that. And at the same time, I saw acts of kindness from him. I saw acts of generosity. I witnessed them myself. I saw him give money to people who were in need, and he never saw them again. I saw what I thought were genuine tears of pain when he heard what happened to some people, or things didn't go right. I don't believe he was all bad, and I don't believe he was all good. I believe he was a human being. His motivations I can't speculate on because I wasn't in his head. But he can be a complicated human being, and we are good enough people to be able to deal with that and parse that and say that he can be all of those things. And if I want to say fuck him, which I do, my experience with him is he betrayed me. He betrayed everyone. There are so many people standing there with egg on their face that were such devoted followers of his, who thought they were serving the mission. And he left them holding a paper bag full of shit that they have to explain, because he is just cast doubt on everything he ever did. And fuck him, he's dead. I don't care. I care about all the loyal people that he left behind that are going, how do I deal with this?
Right.
How do I make excuses for this? How do I justify this? How do I reconcile this? How do I look my kids in the eye and say, I sent you to India on that man's word because he was a master and you had a shit childhood and I don't have a relationship with you? That's heavy, heavy stuff.
Right.
And I feel for everybody, and for all of my tough exterior and all my super, I'm fucking tough and all that. I feel that pain from everybody.
Yeah.
And the medic in me wishes I could just run around and take care of everyone and fix it.
Yeah.
And it's so shitty. You know?
And complex.
I feel that pain from so many people. Friends of 40 years don't want to talk to me because I believe this. Like, really? Our friendship means that little? I'm not going to try to convince you to believe what I believe. Why can't we still be friends?
Mm.
He has blown up families, relationships of how long? And at the very least, he was not honorable. How is this man that we put on a pedestal, who was supposed to be all knowing, who wanted you to marry somebody because he could see your destiny, or wanted you to do something because he could see your destiny, but couldn't see the people he put in charge for UI were going to rape, pillage, and plunder the Dharma? How do people reconcile that shit?
Yeah.
Like, he's left his wife and kids standing there going, our father, my husband, holy shit. Like, what a supremely selfish act. Life to live, there's things that need to get done. And I alluded to it earlier, but I really mean it. Everybody has to find out their way. But, there are some books that have been written by Holocaust survivors who forgave the Nazis.
Yeah.
Forgiving is the most powerful thing you can do, because it allows you to move on. You're not exonerating them for what they've done. And if I can help a few people along the way, and I'd just like to say, for anybody who's listening to this podcast, if I wronged you and I can somehow rectify that, I can somehow help with that. If you need to call me out on something that you think I'm dodging or I didn't own up to, please reach out. Whatever you got to say, I don't care how brutal it is, I can take it. And if that is somehow going to be cathartic for you, I owe you that. Understand it. They said leaving is not an event, it's a process. You guys got to do what you got to do, I guess. I mean, like, I'm not going to do this, but, I have dear, dear, dear brothers who are still in this and very devoted, and I would happily bleed for them.
Yes, I do.
And there is no hard feelings between us. They don't see it the way I see it, but they are still my brothers.
Yeah.
Their families, I
think that was
believing, or their experience is not the problem. They lived it the way they lived it. They experienced it the way they experienced it. My relationship with them is entirely independent.
Yes.
And they are my brothers, and a few sisters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so this doesn't have to blow this up. So we found out that this guy was a fraud. My relationship with you that was just created is not a fraud.
Correct.
My relationship with my friends that I grew up with in this Dharma and people I've known forever, that's not a fraud.
Correct.
People that have nothing but love and are trying to live as Sikhs and be a part of this community, and they value it and they get, that's not a fraud. And so for the people who are trying to salvage this thing, one of my closest friends, Sahesh, man, that guy is pure as the driven snow. His intentions are such.
Yeah.
He is trying to salvage what is good.
Yeah.
My older sister and mentor, Shanti, beyond reproach as far as I'm concerned. And whatever she's working on now, whatever she's trying to do, it is from the right place. And there are so many other people like that. The people that are trying to salvage this thing, I believe them.
Yeah. I
don't necessarily want to do that. I don't feel called to do that. I don't want to see it burn down, but I'm not in a place where I want to participate in that. But if Sahesh called me up, I probably couldn't say no, bastard.
In all honesty.
Can't turn a brother down.
Right.
If they're asking for help, I can't turn them down.
I think that this is the complexity of the truth. This is the complexity of the relationships, the complexity of our community and our connection and our connectivity.
I agree. And I hate to see it boiled down into these very simplistic good or bad or whatever.
Actions that aren't even relating. It's just the worst.
Life is way more complicated than that. People are way more complicated than that. And
I
And for
do.
everybody who has to walk away, I blessings. I hope they
Yeah.
find whatever they're looking for in all sincerity. I hope they find peace and happiness, and they, that their life is fulfilled, and that they go on to do wonderful things.
And that every one of our process is going to be ours, and own that. That's all we can do is own our own process and own our own stance and anchor there.